Welcome back, everyone. We hope you really enjoyed the lunch. We have now a session on how VCs look at technology. An important aspect of e-commerce is funding. We have among us some of the VCs from e-commerce industry to share their views. This session is moderated by Ms. Rohini Srivatsa. She's the leader for Smarter Commerce at IBM and has over 20 years of experience in strategy consulting, sales and marketing, and practice leadership in the US and India. Panelists are Rahul Chaudhary, Vyankatesh Peddy, and Priyank Swaroop. Rahul Chaudhary is the e-commerce sector leader of the investment team at Helion Advisors. His focus areas include e-commerce, digital media and retail, and education sectors. He's closely involved with Helion Investments and ShopClues, My Smart Price, YLG, BabyOA, GTT, and Viona. Prior to Helion, Rahul has had 9 years of experience working in strategy, consulting, business planning, software product management, and project execution roles in India and the US. Venkatesh Peddy is the Vice President at IDG Ventures India. IDG Ventures manages over $6 billion globally and has a portfolio of over 200 technology companies. Venkatesh currently serves on the board of directors at Value Technologies, Lenskart.com, and as a board observer at Actoserba Technologies. Agile Financial Technologies and iProof Learning Solutions. He has over 11 years of industry experience, including 5 years of venture investing experience. Priyank Swaroop is a senior associate at Accel India. He's a board observer for Collectibilla, My Smart Price, Taxi for Sure, and Trivone. At Accel, he focuses on internet and digital media investments. He has several years of experience in product management, engineering, evangelism, and sales at companies like Adobe and Standard Chartered Bank in India and Singapore. So over to our VCs. Thank you.
Good lunch and not too sleepy. It's always a danger of being in a panel right after lunch. But this is a very exciting lineup. Clearly, e-commerce has been an area of a lot of bullishness from the investing venture community. So without my giving a lot of background here, what I'm going to ask the panelists to give a little bit of opening sentence statement about what trends they are seeing in e-commerce from an investing perspective. And when I say e-commerce, it's not necessarily only the internet site and the Mintras of the world, but the broader ecosystem. What are they seeing as trends and how they are looking at the investing climate, so to speak?
Hello. In far as the trends are concerned, I think if you look just on the e-commerce per se, there are a few things that are happening clearly. A lot of e-commerce sites are now focusing on trying to make money other than just burning money. So what they're clearly focusing on is building a private label lines because of the higher margins. Several of them are also trying to become a marketplace, again because of the network effect one gets when you are a marketplace. Then there are few who are trying to figure out, what else can they be in minds of a customer to create differentiation. And then there are, so in that category you see people who are trying to build a fashion orientation on their site if you are an apparel company. So those are, I would say, main 3-4 trends. Then there are, something which is very obvious but has not been done very well in India is around building customer loyalty. So again, people are either through value-added services or through their loyalty programs or better targeting, figuring out how do you get more out of customers. So I would say those are big 3-4 trends just plainly around e-commerce. Then around the ecosystem for e-commerce, which we call as e-commerce enablers, primarily technology companies serving e-commerce companies. There clearly the market is a bit small in India. So while some of the companies are emerging who are getting e-commerce companies in India as their customers, the bigger market is primarily outside India. And at least there our thesis is that even worldwide, the number of e-commerce companies are not too large. So if you're a technology company for an e-commerce company, then either you build a very horizontal solution, or if you are building a niche solution, then it better apply to more than e-commerce. So those I would say are some trends we are seeing.
Sure. So overall, I mean, in terms of trends in e-commerce industry, so I'll actually state the trends at two levels. One is at the industry level, the other is at the company levels, and there are a lot of things happening in the industry. Obviously, at the industry level, a lot of the changes have happened because of the decreasing interest from the VCs like us in funding some of the e-commerce companies, and there are several reasons for it. I mean, can be completely a separate panel discussing that, but that's clearly one trend, right? I mean, a lot of the industry implications have happened because of that. Decreasing funding in several e-commerce companies at different levels. Some companies at Series A levels, companies at Series B and Series C levels too. And also the FDI kind of regulations, right? The regulations have impacted the industry and the way industry has functioned a lot in the last 1.5 to 2 years. And again, I mean, it's a separate panel that should ideally be discussing that. But and like Rahul mentioned, one clear implication of FDI, etc., is also the marketplace model. Now that has started becoming the darling of venture capitalists nowadays, and even a lot of businesses are coming up in the marketplace. One, because the business in itself is making sense. Second, obviously the FDI regulations seem to be a little more favorable to the marketplace business models. So at the industry level, I clearly see that marketplace companies are emerging quite a bit. Most of the industry players are actually moving towards profitability, like Rahul mentioned. At the company levels, I mean, we've invested in 4 e-commerce companies, and we believe that all the 4 are on the right path. Some clear trends that we're seeing in the e-commerce companies at the company levels is because of this emphasis on profitability and efficiency building, there are a lot of aspects that people are focusing on versus just focusing on increasing the revenue and fast growth, right? Some of this was touched upon in the earlier panels today, but technology and the tools are helping these companies in achieving some of this. Very clearly people are focusing on improving the conversion rates to, building the operations in the back end more efficient. That I would say at the company level, and like what you were saying on the overall ecosystem, very clearly, a lot of tech tool providers are coming up in India. Though it's a small market size, like I said, but it's very heartening to see some of these tech solutions which are actually competing and comparable at the technology level to some of the global players. And there are several examples of that. And though the India market could be a small market to start with, but using that as proof points, we are seeing this emerging trend of some of the tech tool companies and tech efficiency providing companies to the e-commerce sites are emerging a lot in India.
Yeah, so I think both of them have covered a lot of points. I don't know what I'll add. But still, I think of all the companies which we have invested in, there is a clear trend towards Indianization of e-commerce. So initially there was this whole thing about Indian e-commerce is really just getting the Amazons to India. Now Amazon is here in India, right? So what are you going to do about it? So, and having said that, what is the growth path for all these e-commerce companies which are there in India? So we see a clear trend, for example, companies are trying out new experiments. Let's not just remain online, let's go offline. So you'll see private labels is one way of going about it. Second is companies are starting to have their offline presence. So I already have all of this inventory. Can I build trust in Indian consumers by opening some of my own stores? To which meets the other point where Indian retailers, offline retailers are now going the e-retail way and having significant presence online. So for example, I think Geetanjali Group has done a significant amount of sales online on the jewels business. So that's one clear trend which is happening as the worlds of online and offline commerce are meeting together now. I think the second thing, which again goes back to really for emerging economies, is how much of transactions or how much of commerce will happen through mobile phone. So some of our companies are seeing really first transactions happening, the customer visiting the website on mobile phone and transacting on mobile phone rather than coming on to the website at all. And that's a trend that they're seeing in tier 2, tier 3 cities quite a lot, because of all the different mobile enablement. Mobile phone screen sizes are becoming bigger. The rates for 3G and 4G are dropping, and all these things. So I think these are the two very big trends which we are seeing in terms of both Indianization and mobile. In terms of technology for internet, for e-commerce, I think I've seen recently a very focused move towards personalization of shopping. So, and this I think is a trend which is coming from US, which really Amazon pioneered in terms of recommendations for a particular customer. There are a lot of new Indian companies coming up which are helping e-commerce companies to retarget, personalize shopping, and do a lot of the seamless integration of big data with data mining and all of these things together. So that's the third big trend which is happening, and I think that's what's going to happen in the future as well. So you will really, when you go to a store, Flipkart for me versus Flipkart for Venkatesh might be really different, the landing page.
So I think all of you touched on some interesting points. I'd like to pick up on what Rahul, you were saying about companies looking to become profitable as against burning money, right? And if you look at the number of e-commerce companies that have been funded over the last 3 years, the 50 odd companies that have been funded, not a lot of new funding in pure play e-commerce has happened this year. More about consolidation is the word that people are looking to go. So do you feel, what are the main factors do you feel are going to be key in terms of your portfolio or company startup in this space to become profitable? Scale, I would say, is one of them, and I'm guessing one aspect which I would like you to touch on is how does technology play a role there?
So that's a difficult question. I don't think there is any running away from the fact that end of the day these are only retail businesses, right? And you go to any retail business and there are people from larger retailer chains out here. It's not easy to make money in retail. It takes several years and large amounts of money to make money in retail. So we should all be aware of that. It is a capital intensive business, so all of these companies will need to keep on raising money. And that is one of the reasons you would see lesser new investments in plain e-tailing space in India. Because there are like 10, 15 VCs and 50 investments, so they better figure out how do they make sense out of their current investment, right? What will these companies do? They have to become more efficient in technology. Priyank mentioned some examples. So each one of us are trying different things around, using personalization, using mobile to expand reach, using your brand to be available on other marketplaces. So those are all different tools. Retargeting is the other one. There are specialized technology solutions that Venkat was talking about, like, how do you do better search? How do you recommend better? So those are all the things to improve sale from same customer or improve conversion from the traffic that you're getting. I don't have a very good answer as to which one of these will work. We are all in work in progress kind of situation. But yes, what is clear is you either be a very plain vanilla horizontal e-tailing site, or you become specialized and differentiate. So one of our companies is building private label company called Yepme. They don't sell any third-party brand. Then another company is targeting baby vertical. Then there is a company which is marketplace. So each one of them, based on the business model, are trying different things. We'll see.
So, to your point on the profitability, so some of this is basics, but with the nascent stage at which the industry was a few years back, even the way to kind of look at the profitability and the measurements has evolved over a period of time. We're very clearly seeing like Rahul saying, it's different for different type of companies. Like a private label company will work at different margin levels, but it will have a different sort of average order value, which will be probably much lower than a company which is probably selling jewelry online, right? So what we've seen kind of helps in measuring is overall a payback period. And that is an aspect with which a lot of the profitability driving in the metrics have been driven in some of the portfolio companies that we've been involved in. And that what that essentially means in terms of payback period is trying to measure when you spend an X marketing amount to acquire 100 clients in a month, and those clients over a period of time actually do multiple transactions, then what you're trying to measure is how much time in terms of payback period are you taking in terms of your margins that you make from these clients over a period of time. And what we've seen really works is if the payback periods are closer to a year, in terms of you actually capturing the margins enough to cover your marketing spend in a month from those 100 customers, that usually helps. And that actually covers and takes into account all the aspects of different categories. Some categories might have margins higher, but an average order value could be lower. Some categories might actually end up spending a lot of customer acquisition, but then the margin that you might make will be higher enough to compensate for it. So to drive the profitability metrics, this is an aspect that really helped us in pushing that.
Yeah, I think, see, at the end of the day, profitability is simple maths. Right? So you have revenues minus costs. So either you increase your revenues or you decrease your costs. And that's fundamentally the day in, day out for any CEO in our portfolio. And I think in terms of increasing revenues, what people are seeing is either expanding into those high margin categories like which Venkatesh mentioned. And similarly, if you look at investor money also, so you're not going to see more investments happening, this is my personal view at least, in those horizontal plays anymore. So you'll have vertical niche where high margin businesses. That's where you will see a lot of investments happening. And then one thing which we should realize is that you can really expand the definition of e-commerce not just from B2C to B2B. So if you look back in the last 1 year, I think in the last 6 months at least, there are a bunch of companies which have been funded towards B2B commerce. And I'm not talking about selling chairs and desks online. I'm talking really about commodities. I'm talking about the whole SME, really the infrastructure development which is happening, let's say, in India. And then there are these bunch of manufacturing companies and you provide them commodities. Can you aggregate the supply? So that whole SME story on e-commerce is another angle to the whole thing. And their margins are significantly high. I mean, not significantly high, but their volumes are much, much larger. And the customer sticks to you because it's their business, they've trusted you. So once you're able to show them the value proposition, they are just there with you for a long time.
One of the earlier panel discussions we had today was around technology and platform versus custom built and some of those evaluations. Do you folks from a venture capital side play a role in some of those decision making? How much do you influence your portfolio companies? And what stage of their life cycle also? Because that's another question. I mean, the company is starting out, at what stage of the investing cycle?
So, I mean, definitely there is an involvement in the decision making on that aspect for sure. It's a very critical aspect, right? I mean, while the merchandise and what you're selling differentiates you for sure, but technology plays as critical a role in the overall success of the company. And what we essentially try and do at that is when we are evaluating the company from an investment point of view, we definitely try and see and evaluate the technology that they're using. Because we invested in the other companies, we also have an understanding of what kind of works in different scales, right? And if they are using, say, a platform like a Magento, then at which point can you expect that platform to start throwing some sort of scalability challenges? So definitely at the evaluation stage, we look at the architectural scalability point of view, but more than that, usability and the user interface definitely plays a role. And even post investment, We definitely encourage the companies to try and use specialized services in different aspects of technology management, right? Like we've used services of an Israeli company for managing the user interface in one of the companies, and designing the user interface. It worked out well. So we definitely encourage the company and help in the decision making of, based on the experience from the other portfolio companies, of different aspects of technology, including even the decisions around what kind of platforms to be used, and even for the back-end side, there are a lot of ERPs available. Whether you use ERP or you try and build in-house is a fairly critical decision that one needs to take. But all of these are, I wouldn't say, at least at the investment decision making stage, it can be a sort of a deal breaker, because these are the aspects that most of the companies we've seen fine tune over a period of time. But that fine tuning and using the specialized services we've seen definitely helps.
So I'll take that as two parts. So one is the investment, and the second is pre-investment. So I'll take the post-investment first. So I mean, our view is that we have, so if you look at not just B2C e-commerce and B2B and all sorts, we have some 18 companies which are doing e-commerce online, selling tickets, booking taxis, etc., etc. So what we try to do is we say, these are some functions like marketing, analytics, sourcing, inventory management. They're common across all. Let's try to go and look at best practices which each of these companies has. So we go around there, we talk to the leaders in each of these respective companies, we find out what are the best practices they think, what are the tools they are using, and then we try to summarize that, bring up with some, kind of almost like a white paper or a session for all our companies, and then tell them, hey, please learn from each other. You are in part of one fund's ecosystem. Please talk to each other. So we kind of try to inculcate best practices from one company into the another. So if somebody has already done one experiment, can you learn from that? So that's one. So that's how we try to do it post-investment, and we do influence that a lot. Pre-investment, when we find an interesting company, and then we definitely, it's not a deal breaker for them, for us, if they're not using the right technology. But we do look at if the company is thinking about those questions. If the company is saying that I have to build it right now because I don't have enough money, because I can't buy it. So let me try it. But does the person understand, in order to iterate, I can just pick pieces very fast and then do development much faster. So that is a thinking which we try to look at when the founders come to meet us.
Yeah. Also, I'm assuming some of the things around cloud, whether they should use a cloud-based service, some of those also come into picture. Okay, so some of that what you were saying earlier. Yeah. I guess you talked earlier about Priyank, you were mentioning about we were talking earlier also regarding not just e-commerce but the broader ecosystem, whether it's logistics, whether it is payment, whether some of the broader ecosystem things. What are interesting plays that you are considering in those areas? And do you think of them as a portfolio for your existing company? So let's say you have invested in a company, do you consider actually investing in companies which form some kind of a complementarity, if you will? Is that a way of looking, and what are the interesting spaces you're looking at there?
So I think what does happen in, especially for technology plays, I think there are investments which we have done because 3 or 4 of our companies were customers for that particular company. And 3 or 4 companies said, hey, we really like this technology, it is giving us value. And then said, hey, so if 3 or 4 of our e-commerce companies are finding it interesting, then there must be something there. So companies have indeed bubbled up like that. And for us, there is no better stamp of approval than our own already invested companies, because we trust them through and through. So I think with that respect, we have a bunch of companies. So I think one company of ours is Vinculum, which you are seeing anyways outside. But that's a pure play investment even before any other e-commerce investment which we had, right? So that's a SaaS investment for e-retail. Having said that, I think a lot of the new changes in the digital marketing ecosystem for customer acquisition is what I'm seeing are greenfield opportunities for investments. So Facebook retargeting, some real-time bidding, all of these are new investments which could be done by VCs.
I mean, I think Priyank touched upon it fairly well. So overall, definitely we are seeing companies emerge in different aspects of e-commerce business functioning, where we a lot of the companies are coming up, bubbling up, which are like vendors to these companies. And it happens like most of those companies are startups, because the startup ecosystem is also looking at what are the problems and how can solve those problems, right? Like companies which are helping in conversion rates, the companies which are helping on the searching in the site, companies which are helping do the price comparisons, companies which are helping do your promotional marketing and ad network companies, which are helping you do that better, or some companies just specializing on certain form of marketing, retargeting companies, and when you actually come across such company, obviously it helps if your existing portfolio companies are using them. If not, you actually tell the companies to try and use them. Then that forms part of your diligence.
So, I'll just come back to the point I was making earlier, that technology for e-commerce companies, unless there is something which is very localized, so let's say comparison shopping, which for US comparison shopping company will be very hard to replicate for India. We would look for businesses which treat, which target global markets. Just targeting Indian e-commerce companies is not a large market at all. And there the biggest challenge is there are 10 companies in US doing exactly what the company in India is trying to do. So it is very hard to, or one needs to find out what is the differentiation, because when you're competing for US and European market, these are the competition that you'll be facing.
So I think you almost touched on the point I was going to ask. I met a few startups and people who are just starting out in this space, whether it's mobile or whether it is a new e-commerce service, etc. Today, if you had to start a new e-commerce venture, in the broader perspective, not just a shopping site, what advice would you give, given the fact that it's already a fairly crowded space from the perspective of startups, right? Given that the FDI market has changed and there's a lot of dynamism happening, and yet if you look at numbers, people say that India is where China was 8 years ago. So there's numbers that can show the story that we are at a tipping point. So that story can show it's a great time to actually start a company, right? So given that, what would you give as an advice to an entrepreneur if they are looking to start something today?
Well, I think, it's a good point that, so if you look at macroeconomics, obviously we are where people say China was 10 years ago. Having said that, please understand that, the investments were made keeping that already in mind. So most of the investments were made assuming that India will reach the China stage at some point of time. So I would say, please do not. So my very strong view is don't start another Flipkart, please. I see that every 80 seconds one proposal, I'm going to beat Flipkart. Like, okay. So, but having said that, my strong advice is if you are going to play in e-commerce, please think global from day one. At least think Southeast Asia. Put Dubai into your picture. Put all these areas where you can have a foothold. There are all these companies. So one big question is, US and Europe are developed markets. They have very sophisticated e-commerce and e-commerce technology companies, e-commerce products. Why can't they come into this particular region? And that's a fair question. Nobody knows an answer. When will that happen? Sometime when this market matures, probably 4 years down the line, these companies also start penetrating. They already are coming, right? So Shopify opened up their Indian portal, right? So what that basically means is the time is now. If you are thinking to expand, to set up something now, this is the land grab mode for allied products in e-commerce. So think global from day one. That would be my strong advice.
So I actually second the opinion of Prayan. So very clearly it is a space where though there are 50 companies funded, but there are several other companies also around which did not get funded. So which obviously means that if there is a new company and very critical for the success of that new company is to clearly see how different is that company from the existing lot, right? And even for that company with a differentiation to kind of survive and sustain that differentiation and to raise funds, it's very critical that it's not just the differentiation that matters, but several other things like how big the company can become, and how long the differentiation can be sustained. Is it a company where there are several other players already exist? So my advice very clearly would be not to, definitely map the market which you are trying to get into, and the market is definitely not easy now, with several of the players already being there, and the financing in a lot of ways kind of getting dried out. Well, in a lot of ways, from a macro point of view, it does seem like we are at a stage where you will see a lot of companies grow, and the e-commerce industry in itself is expected to grow. One of the colleagues was mentioning about a number of 4 to 5, and Rand says about a number of $3 to $3.5 billion in FY16, FY17, which basically means there's a huge scope to grow. But as a newcomer, as a new player, very clearly the aspect of differentiation has to stand out. One, for you to survive amongst these crowded space. Second, also to get the financing very clearly. And it's a difficult market now.
Appreciate that very much. We can take a few questions if there are any in the audience. I'm assuming everybody is awake. No questions? Yeah, please. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Hello. My name is Siddharth. I'm from Tata Industries. My question to you is if you compare with the US market, and you're essentially looking at 9 out of the top 10 e-commerce players being people who have a very large offline presence, and that's something that surprisingly is not seen in India. What do you think are the reasons? How long into the future do you see this trend sustaining?
Yeah, so it's an interesting point that you're making. So we were looking at US markets and trying to understand the US markets better. So if you look at the top about 30, there are about 31 e-commerce companies in India, and companies in US which are more than $1 billion in revenues, and almost about 80% of them are actually players who are present offline. And a lot of that has happened, at least in our hypothesis, a lot of that has happened because by the advent of e-commerce started happening, and the time at which it started happening in US, there were a lot of organized offline retail which is fairly strongly present in US in different markets. And you can pick up any category, there would have been a lot of strong offline players already present by then. In India and some of the other emerging markets like China, we are a fairly large investor in China. That has not been the case, one. Right? And second, even the infrastructure setup has helped even the non-specialized e-commerce players to actually leverage that and get into e-commerce fairly fast. We've seen that in China, and we do believe that in India, that the specialized e-commerce share of revenues will definitely be higher, even in the longer run in India versus versus US.
Hi. My name is Kumar. I'm a business consultant. I work individually. My question is, we've been seeing the retail, our Indian market. We had mom and pop stores. We were selling. Then we said, no, we'll go global. We'll go online. Then we did investments. We found companies. Then we said, no, online is not working. Let's also have offline. What are we doing? If you're following Western countries, right? Then if US being an example now, 8 out of 10 have both presence offline and online, they're successful. Do you suggest, that's what I feel also, that a model should be offline, online both. Why only online? If you're not able to sustain. Do you recommend that it needs to be the same? No.
I'm not sure I got the question right, but yeah, so definitely there will be a presence of both offline online guys and only online guys and only offline guys, for sure. There's no doubt about it, right? Globally we've seen in developed markets overall of the total retail that has happened, about 5% to 6% kind of goes online. And in some geographies it has even reached, in countries like Germany, etc., it has reached up to 10%. In China it is about 4.5%. So, and part of that going online will always be a mix of specialized online players plus offline online players. Obviously for an offline player, given a huge presence of brand helps them go online, for sure. But then going online has its own implications and has its own complications. There's a little bit of an execution challenge, especially when the infrastructure is not in place, to try and leverage that part and build a strong backend to support e-commerce operations can also be challenging. So it will always be a mix of overall offline and online players.
So, I didn't follow the line of the argument, but to your question, I don't think online guys should try to go offline. In India, offline guys also don't make money. So don't be in too unprofitable businesses, is my recommendation. And it's not easy to do offline business in India. The real estate cost will kill you.
Yes, I am Vishnukant Sarvaria from Jhansi, UP State. I am working on retail since last 15 years for tier 2, tier 3 cities. I have seen and listening that the comparison and the competition from US or China, like because of venture capitalists here. Don't you think to see and have a grip on the tier 2, tier 3 cities of India, which has a very good and potential market, rather than going to global?
I don't think we were recommending that e-commerce companies should go global. We were talking about e-commerce technology companies going global. So e-commerce should stay focused on India. There are few who are just like, there's a company called C Bazaar funded by Inventors, which builds product for an international market. But that's a very different business. As far as regular e-commerce is concerned, I think there's a lot of potential in tier 2, tier 3 cities.
That's what I am asking.
Yeah, there is. So there are enough companies there.
Okay, we are done. Sorry. Appreciate everybody's participation. I really thank my colleagues here for an interesting conversation. I hope you all enjoyed as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Rohini, Rahul, Venkatesh, and Priyank for your valuable insights.